I'm Trin Johnson, and welcome to Dust in My Eye. If you like this video, please hit that like button, and if you'd like to see more of my videos, hit the subscribe button, and if you want to be notified of any future videos, hit that cute little bell. I thought I would get one more Christmas holiday video in. This one is watercolor. And I was inspired by all my Christmas decorating and all my Christmas decorations. And I have this little angel that I made for my mom when I was 11, back in 1971. You can tell because it says it on the bottom, although my name is spelled incorrectly. I think my aunt wrote it. So I took a picture of my little angel, which I'll pop into the corner, and I thought I'd just give it a try here. I'm using this paper. It's New York Central 100% watercolor paper. I saw it on Jerry's Artorama about a month ago or so. They had a really big sale, and I got it for a very good price. A pack of 10 right now is about $4.50. It's 100% cotton, acid-free, molded on a roller. So it's a really nice paper. And I drew out my little angel ahead of time. If you want the line drawing, I'm going to have a link underneath the video where you can get the line drawing. Because I didn't want to sit here and draw it in, and takes time. I'm trying to, not have this too long. I'm going to tape it down because I want a nice white edge. I use this surgical tape. I really like it. I like that it comes on a little roller. I get them in like 12 packs from Amazon. And generally speaking, I like the way that they work. It does a good job. So I'm just going to give it a tape down. I was just looking at the weather, and apparently we're going to have a lot of snow here. The day before Christmas Eve and on Christmas Eve. I am not a fan of snow, which one would say that I live in the wrong area. To not like snow. But I'm not going to get it as bad here as, or we're not, as other parts of the country that are going to get slammed, it looks like. Blizzard-like conditions I was reading. Okay. I drew it in a little darker for you. I don't usually draw it this dark. This is what I generally like to draw with when I'm doing watercolor. I don't know if you can see that. It's a Caran d'Ache Supra 2 Soft. This one is beige, brownish beige, and it's water soluble. So I like a nice neutral color that will dissolve with my when I use water. Just gonna wet my palette here. Now I start out, I'm going to wet the background, and the upper background is this bluish grayish color. So I'm going to use cerulean blue and some it's not Payne's gray, it's Elviro's fresco gray is what I was using or am using. Where I'm just get the little spots in between. I'm going to need this for very long, so I think I'll just mix this in one of these little containers. These were my father-in-law's. It's fun to look through old stuff and find art supplies and that you didn't know you had. They probably technically belong to my husband because he's an artist also, and they were his father's, but I somehow ended up with them in my stuff. Darn. Now, I am kind of after a vignette feeling today, so I am not going all the way to the edge of the paper. And cerulean blue is granulating, so I'm getting some interesting granulation. And I believe so is the Alvero's, or is it Alvero's fresco, because it's basically a Payne's gray kind of color. It's usually ultramarine blue is in there, and that's granulating. So spreading a little further than I might have preferred. And I want to get it a little darker around the pine cone tree and the angel, and a little lighter and bluer further out, because that gives me a nice contrast. When you're drawing your pine cone, you don't have to get every little tiny thing exactly right. Nobody is going to come and yell at you for having something in the wrong place. No pine cone police. I just want to keep this from going too far out. I'm going to soften it a little bit with tissue. The other thing I'm going to do is get some of the little lights so that we have that bokeh. I think it's bokeh look, but not too much. All right, and then I'm going to merge my bottom with my top here. And wet the bottom. But I'm going to take some yellow ochre. A little burnt umber. Kind of let it be fuzzy where the two meet. Little variation in the color. Just rolling my brush to try and soften the edge. And like I did at the top, I want to soften the edges a little bit and bring it back in a little. I'd like these a little fuzzier. Now the angel, I'm using a Venetian red, a little bit of that. And a little sepia. And a little bit of yellow ochre. Trying to get that chestnutty color. Now she's got a nice reflection going. So I want to make sure that I get that. These are the darker parts. It doesn't matter if my angel ends up a little bigger than my angel in the picture. Get a little more yellow. I just want that a little lighter. I want that a little lighter. Take a little tissue and just soften that a little bit. Now her face is a little bit yellower. I'm going to add a little bit of Naples yellow to my mix over here. And a little lighter. Now her hair is an odd color. I'm going to get some of my mixture from before over here. Add a little more yellow ochre. And I'm going to add a little lemon yellow. Just the tiniest bit of green, because there's a little greenish cast to it. It's kind of a brassy color. Then we're going to want to add some brown to it when we get to the part that's not the highlight part. But at the top of her head, the light's kind of shining on it. I'm going to add a little brown, a little sienna, burnt sienna, no, not burnt sienna, sorry, sepia. I'm going to add a little sepia. Come on. Now I'm going to go back to the main angel, get off the hair for a minute, and do the wings, which are a little darker. I added a little bit of Aussie Red Gold to my mix. May not be the exact color of her wings, but it helps differentiate her wings from her hair. This little wing is broken, which I could make it unbroken, but I kind of like the way it adds to her charm a little bit. I'm going to drop a little bit of wing color in there because it's back behind her hair. All right, we're going to let that dry a little bit, and then we'll come back and do some tweaking. All right, I'm going to use a little neutral tint. And a little sepia and get a warm dark brown. We're going to use that for our shadows and our pine cone. And we'll kind of use the angel mix for the pine cone. I'm going to see if I can finish her hair so that I can use that puddle. I have a really thin brush now. A little bit darker. I'm just trying to get the strands. Okay. Now, the gold of her hair is kind of a nice, makes a nice rock color. It's not quite as yellow, so I'm adding a little bit of burnt umber to tone it down. That's a little gray. That's pretty good. I'm going to paint in a rock here. It's a little fuzzy along here, so maybe drop a little bit in to let it be fuzzy. maybe not. I think I'll just do this. Mind it bleeding in there, but I don't want that really rough edge looking. So I need to go in here and get a little more contrast. I'm using the sepia and neutral tint mixture that I made for the dark part of the pine cone. And I'm just using that to do the shadows on the little angel girl. Now her face is darker than that. It's in a shadow. So I want to just glaze over the bottom. Half of her face. Just to darken it up a little bit. There we go. All right. She does have little bitty eyes that we can go in later and try and get in there. Now I'm going to mix up some green. And come in with the branches in the back. And I'm just going to place some water in where I want the branches, because I want them to like blend in. Now you certainly could have done this at the beginning when we did the blue. But it works all right later in the game here too. Now I have, that was sap green, and I'm just dropping in a little green gold. Don't really want to fuss with those. I don't want, that's not the focus. Focus is the angel. I'm adding a little undersea green just to have it a little more than just two colors. Just to get a little more of a mix in the background. And that's all I'm going to do with that. Now let's work on our piney cone. Try not to stress over the pine cone too much. Like I said, the pine cone police aren't coming for you. You don't need it perfect. We're not doing a botanical here. So I'm going to start with my light areas. And just, sure I am. These are where it's lighter and redder. Which is where it's sticking out from on the little petally things. I don't know what they're called. Didn't really ever think about it. To get some variation. And the petals things on the left side are a little grayer. So let's see if we add some of our neutral tint to it. We can gray it out. But then they're very pale, so we want it a very light mix. A little less red, I guess, is what I'm after here. I want it a little darker now. So I'm adding a little sepia to it. And I'm going to do the top parts that are a little more in shadow. This is not the darkest I'm going to go, so this little guy's hiding. Now we've pretty loosely gotten the whole pine cone. So we're going to go in with our darker color. Just get a little more of it. Mixed up here. You can see it. I need to let that dry before I go crazy on it, or it'll just blur together. And I don't want it real defined, but I don't want it to totally blur together. While we're waiting, let's take a little bit of this really darky dark color. And do her little eyes. Really fine detail brush. I can get her darker parts. Even more contrast. I'm going to get the brown shape there. Alrighty, let's see. That's pretty good. We're going to just come in here. You can see that the one side of the pine cone is definitely darker than the other side of the pine cone. And for a lot of the pine cone, the little pieces just seem to come out of the darkness and the shadow. I'm not being really faithful to the picture. In the end, I just wanted to read pine cone. I don't care if it reads this particular pine cone. A little bit of the shadow underneath. You can see this whole side of the rock is in shadow. It looks so dark when you start, and then as you keep going, you're like, oh, it's not dark enough. I'm going to add a little bit more red to my mix over here. Go back in here and get that kind of feel. Just blending this in a little bit. It seems so dark the first time you do it. I don't know if I said that. But then it really is very dark inside, in the middle of this pine cone. And you're actually painting around the petal, for lack of a better term. I'm really not sure, again, what they're called. And so you're really doing negative painting. Just layers and layers. So that you get the contrast. Because without the contrast, it just, things don't pop. The thing you have to remember is with watercolor, it dries lighter. So anything you do is going to dry lighter. So we're going to try and get some of these folds in the rock. I am just trying to soften that edge because it's kind of curved. And I'm just going to keep working on my pine cone. Little of the dark, little of the glaze. I still need the shadow of my rock on the surface. We'll let that dry and then get in the darkest part and right in the crevice there and give it some darker, a little more contrast. But I can't do it till dries a little bit. Our angel's a little bit lighter than the angel in the picture, but I'm kind of okay with that because as long as she's got enough contrast to pop, she's, you can see her face better. Now that I have all the background parts in, I can give her some longer hair pieces. The rock police aren't coming either, so we don't have to worry about having everything perfect there. There we go, got a little more contrast in there. I'm going to glaze over this side of the pine cone a little bit because this side's all in shadow. Like I said, I'm not trying to make this exact pine cone. So if I've missed something, it's okay. Okay, I would like to just get a little bit darker right under my pine cone. And maybe just a little bit darker under our little angel. Okay, I think what I'd like to do is get a little bit of more, a little darker gold. And just darken the surface a little bit. It felt like it was too light, like it was sitting. She didn't have a substantial perch. Now, if you want to, you could give it some sparkle and add some spatter with a nice gold paint for the holidays, because honestly, why not? Now I have two different colors that I could use. I have a bronze and a pale gold. And I think I keep thinking the bronze, but then I come back to the gold because I think the gold has, it's just a little lighter and I don't want it real heavy. So I'm just going to get a nice consistency here. And I don't want snow. I don't want big drips. So hopefully I won't get them. So I'm just going to tap from up high and see I'm just getting, I can tell I'm getting just little spatters on my glasses, which are going to be really nice to get off. That was a little bigger than I wanted there. So let's do this. Our angel looks like she's kind of got the freckles. Generally speaking, I like freckles fine, but I don't know that I want them all over her. There. She does have freckles, but that's okay. Can always nudge some of them back. It's funny, I didn't end up with anything right there where I would like to have something. Nope, not happening. There. You can totally skip that step if you don't want to give it a little sparkle. I go back and forth, but it's a Christmas decoration, so I am just going to sign my name to this one and call it done. Oh, we get to rip the tape off. This is the fun part. You always rip away from what you're doing, from the painting. If your tape is pulling your paper, try heating it with a blow dryer a little bit to loosen the adhesive. With good paper though, it should be fine. I like this paper. This is the second time I've used it, and it seems quite nice. There we go. Thanks for watching. And I really appreciate all the new subscribers and all the likes and all the views. And if you haven't followed me already, I would appreciate that. And feel free to check out my Etsy shop where I have lots of little monsters and prints of my artwork. A few originals for sale, and until next year, possibly, I might sneak one in between Christmas and New Year's, but see you next time. Thanks for watching.